Rivalry can be a great show when you put two complete opposites in the gladiator's pit. That being said, no rivalry of opposites has a legacy that even history can't trace back to its true blue origins correctly. So, how would Hellsing be complete without an ace werewolf standing toe-to-toe with our favorite vampire, Alucard? We're digging up the truth behind the Captain, Millennium's stoic, natural werewolf charmer. Werewolves have existed as long as vampires have walked the earth. Both love the night, and their origins are equally shrouded in history, mythology, and folklore shared across the world. But the Captain's role and work in Millennium comes very close to German people and their love for werewolves. Now you know why Nazi Germany had a unit named after werewolves. Combine this essential characteristic with a cold silence, you'll be standing in front of the Captain, and you'll never know what he'll do next. There will be no warning either, and it all comes from the unique anatomy of the Captain's werewolf makeup that we will analyze in this video. While there are many vampires trying to claim Alucard's spot as the undisputed strongest vampire in Hellsing, the Captain has no match, and his anatomy will explain it best. So, breaking the Captain's silence on the matter, let's dissect his anatomy to answer how the Captain is a werewolf without match in the Hellsing canon. Who is the Captain? What's his role and rank in Millennium? If you've ever wondered why the Captain is always a silent bodyguard for the Major, then we have to go back to the roots of how the Captain came into the Major's Millennium ranks. An original member of the Waffen-SS branch of Nazi Germany's paramilitary forces, the Captain is as old a member of Millennium as the Major. That's the first thing they share in common, the other being a disputed loyalty to their cause. For the Captain, loyalty is not just a necessary service he gives Millennium, it's also the Waffen-SS's inherent motto: our honor is our loyalty. Safe to say, the Captain is a thoroughbred Nazi war dog and sticks to his principle to provide the Major with unquestionable loyalty and protection. He stays silent not because he believes that he owes the Major and Millennium his silent obedience, rather, it's his stoic approach to everything in the Hellsing universe. This is a bit conflicting when you mix a staunch supporter of Nazism and still call him a stoic. However, the stoicism of the Captain comes from the fact that he is indifferent to ideas like having a position or a say in any matter, and he's more interested in duty for the sake of duty. Therefore, his silence is not mutism, but rather selective silence, as we see him flanking the Major as his bodyguard and waiting for any order he's needed to execute. He's also called the good dog, by the way, and as dogs go, loyalty is indeed their honor. The Captain's loyalty perhaps has only one match in Hellsing, and that's Alucard. Alucard and the Captain are therefore not just rivals and opposites, but also rivals in their loyalty to both the Hellsing organization and the Millennium organization respectively. There is no rhyme or reason that the Captain is willing to spare for the sake of the Major's protection, strategies, and also the Millennium's overall mission. Hence, the Captain is the hidden ace trump card in the Major's hand, like a detonator switch waiting to be pressed, and he'll wait for as long as it takes. For the Captain, service to his liege is his only purpose, no questions asked, and speaking only when necessary. His silence only adds to the surprise element when we initially perceive him as an order-following lapdog and might be seemingly harmless. But that's the catch. Silent obedience always guarantees that you have a killing machine that will do anything you ask of him, and he won't question any orders because his sense of loyalty binds him to you without any personal judgments. Stoicism 101 maybe? Speaking of the best bodyguard and assassin package, no other world leader can have the Captain the way the Major holds his loyalty on a leash. Is the Captain a neutral werewolf or a Millennium project? Does he need the full moon to transform? The Captain, for all his mysterious silence, is a natural werewolf, and perhaps the only one left according to Alucard. As mentioned before, the rivalry between vampires and werewolves is the stuff of folktales. German folktales don't have a definite stand on what Germanic people felt about werewolves, but there is a majority consensus that werewolves, for Germans, were heroic humanoid beasts who would protect them from demonic vampires. Some accounts suggest that a werewolf is created with a ribbon blessed and received by its owners. Others suggest that there are wizards who transform into a werewolf for the protection of innocent humans who might be prey for vampires. Their role in German culture is more of anti-hero, a necessary evil of the night to protect against the other monsters of the night, like vampires. Nazi or not, the Germans really seem to hate vampires and respect werewolves. But the Captain's story with Millennium is another mystery in itself. As mentioned before, the Captain being a natural werewolf and Germany's inherent love for them made the Captain the most trustworthy killer and protector protector for the Major and the Millennium. The Nazis even had facilities and battalions codenamed after werewolves. For instance, their Werewolf Corps is a good example as an attempt to use werewolf-based tactics to combat threats. The use of brute force, blitzkriegs, and intimidation is something Nazis, Millennium, and werewolves share in common. As a natural werewolf, the origin of the captain stays shrouded in mystery about how exactly he turned into a ruthless humanoid beast. But there is no doubt about the fact that the Doctor has enhanced the capabilities of the captain along the same lines as Zoran Blitz and Rip Van Winkle. But unlike other true werewolves, the captain doesn't need a full moon night to transform. He can just transform at will. The captain's cold silence also extends to his own expression of pain. In all battles, save for the last two, the captain spares no expressions that tells us if he experiences pain on all the damages made to his body. His stoic demeanor makes it tough to gauge what exactly the damage does to his body. His resilience factor, therefore, is on par with Alucard's, and his regeneration capabilities are quite equal, if not superior. Alucard is actually taken by surprise when he confronts the captain because for the longest time, Alucard believed that he had pushed all werewolves to the corner of extinction, and the emergence of the captain only strikes doubt in Alucard if the captain is the last surviving natural werewolf. However, as discussed before, starting from the events of Helsing, it's detailed that the captain is no more a natural werewolf, but rather an enhanced werewolf with more deadly bestial qualities than before. Seems like the Doctor's twisted mind spared none of the top-ranking officials of the Millennium, and with good measure. But as for the impact it has had on the captain, that's a highly debatable topic. The captain's character builds as this stoic and cold, silent killer, but by the ending confrontations, it is heavily implied that the captain might also be the only Millennium killer with a noble heart, a respect, and sympathy for his enemies that you cannot find in other Millennium members. This makes the anatomical changes of the captain as a natural werewolf and then an artificial werewolf a very interesting case to explore. The artificial chip enhancement of the Doctor seems to not only physically enhance humans, but it also corrupts their souls beyond repair. But not with the captain. He considers his enemies as equal warriors worthy of respect, just because they're brave enough to stand up for themselves. His treatment towards female characters like Seras Victoria and Sur Integra has all the hallmarks of chivalry that is far unknown in the Nazi genome. In doing so, the captain also exhibits traits of morality, good character, if not great, and also personal principles that otherwise go against his indoctrination to follow orders with unwavering loyalty. Therefore, the captain has a lot of perks naturally as a werewolf, and then some big-time upgrades from the Doctor. But as for his true stand on the morality of the Helsing story, it's disputed at best. Somewhere there is a deep, lingering conflict inside the otherwise cold and soulless captain. This is a really interesting deviation from the Millennium character trope that stands true to the test of his character on all fronts. For this alone, the captain gets some marvelous brownie points from us for somewhat retaining his humanity inside the curse of an eternal Nazi beast. Is the captain's skin made out of a special substance? How can he become intangible? Speaking of deviations, the captain also stands out here on a physical front. The captain has the graces of a biological immortality as a natural werewolf, and that implies that the captain is totally immune to any assault. But this ability is often repeated in Helsing, isn't it? I mean, who isn't immune to attacks and assaults from automatic rifles, familiars, and everything else in Kota Hirano's arsenal? Everyone also has the regeneration capabilities that are so common that you really need to dig deeper to understand the captain's anatomy to figure out how his shared abilities are different from the other characters in the Helsing canon. He has impenetrable skin? Sure, he could simply grab Walter's monofilament wires that can slice through almost anything like butter, even Alucard. So is this some invulnerable skin made of a special substance? Yes and no. We can argue on two fronts. Being a natural werewolf gives the captain one of the most impenetrable skins and muscle fibers on the planet, even more than vampires. Almost like iron. It's the true gift of being a true werewolf that even swords or machine guns would hardly make a dent on the captain. But the question can also be answered with the experimentation of the Doctor. As the captain is also a user of the Doctor's artificial monster chip, it is highly possible that the chip has enhanced the durability and strength of the captain's impenetrable skin to even greater heights. It's a possibility we cannot rule out, just like we cannot separate the use of adamantium from Wolverine's anatomy, or vibranium from Black Panther's suit, or his own enhanced physical power that is itself derived from a flower born from vibranium-soaked soils. This enhancement of already existing superhuman strengths runs parallel with the use of an external agent like a metal, a chip, cyborgs, or serums, and there is no doubting that if the Doctor's chip tweaked the captain's anatomy to such an extent that it would put Iron Man and his suit's invulnerability to shame. The fact that Alucard can get sliced with his familiars and take good time to recover from Walter's monofilament wires tells us a lot about how powerful the captain is if he can just stop the wires in an instant suit with no marks on his skin. If this enhanced physicality isn't enough, wait until you watch the Captain fight in his intangible form. Yes, the Captain is intangible. He can take the form of a mist and play around with enemies to make them feel like they were chasing smoke from a chimney tower. The Captain's mist form allows him to evade multiple enemies, navigate past them easily, and also escape traps or other tricks planned to outsmart him. He can even create mist shields around him that do the job of literally shielding him from attacks. For a guy with iron-hard skin, this seems like a show-off trick, but that is exactly what makes him more dangerous, because he is truly intangible. And how will you kill something that cannot be sensed or predicted and can change his form at will? So, let the cold silence of the Captain not fool you, because his mist form and impenetrable skin will definitely do the job on. How fast is the Captain's regeneration factor? Is it better than Anderson's? Regeneration is an exhausted ability in the Hellsing canon. All major characters of Hellsing have their regeneration ability to varying degrees. But the one character who has the best? No debate on this, it's the Captain. There are three supremos of regeneration in Hellsing. The first, Vampire Alucard, the Regenerator Anderson, and the true werewolf, the Captain. But of all three characters, the Captain's regeneration ability reigns supreme to be the best in the Hellsing canon. Mostly because of his anatomy as a true werewolf and some additional tweaks thanks to the Doctor's experimental chips. Let's take a close and comparative look at why the Captain regenerates without blinking an eye in battle. When we compare him to Alucard, it is easily noticeable that Alucard takes his own sweet time to regenerate from lethal wounds. Alucard is undisputedly powerful, but when it comes to regeneration, he needs time to do it when he's facing enemies like Anderson. As for Father Anderson, he claims to be a regenerator, but even he pales in comparison to the regeneration capabilities of the Captain. Most humans, or even artificial vampires in Hellsing, can barely scratch the surface of Father Anderson, but when facing Alucard's castle with a headshot, even Father Anderson has to fall back and realize that he's not a god's miracle. Father Anderson often has to retreat or shield himself for his regeneration capabilities to help him recover. Hence, Alucard and Father Anderson need time to recover, and that's not the case with the Captain. The Captain can survive almost anything that's thrown at him, be it Walter's microfilament wires, the bombs, the bullets, or familiars. Nothing seems to penetrate his skin or even leave a scratch. The Captain is so quick with his regeneration ability that he recovers a severed limb mid-fight and keeps fighting as if nothing really happened to him. He even survives a lethal bomb explosion in the battle and shrugs off the impact like he was kicking off dust from his Nazi boots. As an approximation, it is safe to say that the Captain has far superior regeneration capabilities that definitely trump Alucard's ability and can be 2 times more powerful than the self-proclaimed regenerator, Father Anderson. The one truly definitive aspect of the Captain that helps him achieve this lies in his werewolf anatomy. Werewolves by nature possess far tougher and superior impenetrable skins compared to vampires or even regenerator humans. So, part humans like Father Anderson can't even compare in competition. With a skin that rivals the durability of iron, the Captain is barely getting scratches on his body, so a regeneration process is easily quicker for the Captain, as damaging his skin in the first place is the most difficult part of any operation, let alone tearing him to pieces. Compare the Captain to a Wolverine or Deadpool. That's exactly the kind of superior durability that the Captain carries with him in every fight with a lot of ease. It's as if his cell regeneration and recovery works at hyper speeds that even Alucard and Father Anderson would take decades to master and perfect. There's no doubt about who has the fastest and strongest regeneration ability in the Hellsing canon. It's the Captain. What makes the Captain one of Hellsing's physically strongest entities? Is he stronger than Alucard? Now that durability, regeneration, and impenetrability are settled, it's now time to analyze the physical strength of the Captain. Does it trump the strengths of all Hellsing characters? From a physical point of view, yes, it does. The Captain is indeed far superior in terms of physical strength in the Hellsing canon. His cold, stoic demeanor actually makes his physical strength more sinister. Perhaps the indifferent silence of the Captain can be attributed to the fact that he realizes there's no match for his physical strength, the most popular instance being Walter and his use of microfilament wires. We all know by now that Walter's nearly invisible microfilament wires can cut through steel, armor, bullets, and even Alucard and his familiars. If you thought there was no one to challenge this distinction, then the Captain sets the record straight as he walks off unfazed even when the microfilament wires have grasped his entire neck. Walter's microfilament wires barely leave a scar on the Captain's neck, and the swiftness with which the Captain frees himself is enough proof to tell you that this captain is made of another physical strength that's almost alien to all Hellsing characters. Secondly, as mentioned before, the captain survives a fall over a great distance like he had Goku's Super Saiyan avatar coursing through his veins. As for bombs and explosions, the captain can easily walk over them mid-explosion and still retain his balance, like he was moving up on an escalator. But there's no other face-off that stands as the true testament to the captain's sheer physical prowess, like his final fight with Seras Victoria. The cold captain versus the timid newbie true vampire. Talk about opposites, and you will see that this was not even a fight. The captain was just too much to handle for Seras Victoria, as he continually proved to her how hopeless and matchless her physical strength was compared to him. Sure, the captain was on a death wish, but not without giving one final glimpse into his gruesome, brutal physical dominance. Seras is repeatedly put down, hammered beyond recognition, and she is constantly reminded by the captain about how she was losing control of the fight. If that wasn't enough, the captain really trumped the use of his super reflexes with his staggering speed to prove to Seras Victoria that she might never find another enemy like the captain. All worn down, the captain doesn't spare Seras Victoria even a second to breathe and regain her pace. He batters her down without a second to waste and finally knocks her down a floor all the way into a storage room. Talk about sheer raw physical strength, and we think the captain is every Hellsing character's eternal nightmare, especially Seras Victoria. How does the captain's werewolf form give him an edge over vampires in battle? A werewolf's anatomy is highly different from a vampire's anatomy. They are both superior to each other on two different fronts. If a vampire is a superior monster due to his supernatural abilities, a werewolf, on the other hand, is far superior from a physical point of view. Physically, the captain is a true werewolf and has inherited all the physical strengths gifted to a werewolf as its curse. This includes iron-hard skin, superior muscular strength, unbreakable bone density, weight, and agility combined with the swift reflexes derived from a supernaturally enhanced genome of a wolf. It's in the captain's nature to be physically superior on Earth compared to any other supernatural being simply because he's a werewolf. The brute strength is an inseparable superiority of the captain's werewolf DNA that also comes with supernatural abilities like intangibility as an added bonus. In his initial face-off with Walter, he's simply walking through the fight without a change of expression or a wince when he's attacked with the invisible microfilament wires. Sure, Walter was a human then, but even after the doctor's fiddling with Walter's body, this artificial vampire form of Walter is still not a match to make a significant impact or damage on the captain. If a true vampire like Alucard finds it exhausting to put down the captain, then an artificial vampire like Walter is definitely the underdog who's destined to lose. The captain has barely any need of his transformation into a werewolf to beat the Angel of Death, Walter. He can simply beat Walter to a pulp with his bare human hands. As for the captain's post-transformation fights, he defeats Seras down to humiliation 3 times just to prove that Seras Victoria's vampiric powers, or naive humanistic determination, is of no match to the captain's indestructible werewolf physicality or strengths. Combine his physical prowess with his supernatural intangibility, it's like showing a David versus Goliath fight. The only difference is that our David, Seras Victoria, is just puny and could be easily defeated if not for the captain himself arming her with a weapon to kill him. Seras Victoria didn't really win the fight. She was just lucky that the captain walked into his own death. The captain literally destroyed Seras Victoria to the point that she was a fully awakened true vampire asking her familiar how to defeat the captain in their battle. Talk of physical superiority at its peak, and this scene from Hellsing bears a close resemblance to the MCU's first Avengers movie, where Loki tries to argue with Hulk that he is a god, and Hulk is just a dumb creature. Sure, Seras Victoria doesn't display any of Loki's cockiness, but she pretty much gets slammed around like Hulk slams Loki on the Stark Tower floors, only to dismiss him in the end as a puny god. That settles the score, and might also prove that there's no character who can stand the test of the captain's sheer brutish physical superiority. The captain is just made different because he is the antithesis of vampires. This simply means that he's cursed with a completely different set of superior powers that the vampires sorely lack: the endurance, durability, and accuracy of a physically dominant body. So now you know who should be your best friend, just in case you happen to cross paths with a scary vampire every night. What is the captain's only weakness? How was it used against him? Now that we've established the superiority of the captain, the last piece of his jigsaw puzzle is his weakness. There is not one character in Hellsing that is without any weakness, and that's exactly what makes the roster of characters so fascinating and great. You can be Alucard, you can be Walter, you can be Father Anderson, or you can be the captain. No one gets out of here alive. Somehow, Kota Hirano has tried to subtly convince us that the concept of immortality is a fantastic fiction at best. Seemingly, immortal characters of Hellsing like Alucard can also be killed, if you know what exactly the weakness of that character is. There is this philosophical position that Kota Hirano takes in Hellsing, be it supernatural monsters like Alucard or human monsters like the Major. There is nothing more monstrous or immortal in this world than death. This is a prominent theme in Hellsing, that death is a bill that will come due no matter who you are. What was born will die. No matter if it transitioned from a human to a vampire or a staffer to a cyborg major, death is the inevitable end of everyone, including our world. Immortality is a fantasy that can also be killed, and death is the only immortal being in our world. It's a different thing that Kota Hirano flips this idea on its head when Alucard resurfaces after 30 years of killing his millions of familiars, except for Schrödinger. This standpoint of Kota Hirano also flips in the case of Schrödinger, when we think of how Schrödinger can be alive and dead at once, and there's no saying if he's actually dead, even for Alucard. But what about those who willingly choose death? That's a strange question that Kota Hirano answers through the Captain, and is also important when we discuss the Captain's weakness for Silver. The storyline thus far follows all the ideas of immortality and also the soft spot of it that can bring about death for anyone, no matter how immortal they are. But the death of the Captain has more to it than just an enemy finding a loophole and killing him off. The Captain can bypass almost everything, from moon activation, wooden staking, automatic rifles, bombings, multiple assassins, or whatever deadly weapon you can create from your twisted mind. All but one element can definitely kill him. However, the silver that is used to kill the Captain by Seras Victoria is not a hack that Seras Victoria discovers herself. The Captain essentially thrashes Seras Victoria down a floor to reach a storage room full of antique treasures stolen from Jews during World War II. Furthermore, the Captain also kicks a silver tooth from this treasure in Seras Victoria's direction as the final bullet to end their battle. This silver tooth is speculated to have been mercilessly wrenched out of the jaws of a Jewish prisoner during World War II by the Nazis, and it is Seras Victoria's familiar who tells her that silver will kill the Captain. All in all, Seras Victoria found the solution to end her fight by stabbing the Captain with this silver tooth, and that's how the Captain dies, with a smile of contentment. This essentially proves that the Captain's death was not an achievement for Seras Victoria or an accident. It was just good old suicide. The Captain, in his final moments, dies with a lasting smile that is equal parts satisfaction and remorse. He is satisfied that he has lifted his eternal werewolf curse and found death, but at the same time, he is also relieved that he doesn't have to go on fighting like a mad war dog that commits soul-crunching atrocities in the name of a hypocritical war. This is a somewhat noble completion of the character arc of a remorseful Nazi. Sure, it's debatable to say that a Nazi has remorse, but the hints are present all over the Captain's death when he conveniently surrenders the instrument of his death to Seras Victoria after having thrashed her beyond measure. The end of the Captain also marks a sharp shift from how other characters of Millennium died. Most died happy and believing that they were fighting for a cause, but as for the Captain, it seemed like he embraced his truth, that he was just done fighting the war of sadistic warmongers who just want to fight for the hell of it. Perhaps we can assume that the Captain has the only redemption arc in Millennium, and Schrödinger's suicide doesn't even qualify for any comparison, as he was simply following the Major's orders to become the hand-in-glove for Alucard's death. To further prove the Captain's submission to his silver weakness, it can be argued that if the Captain was really a non-stop war fanatic with an unquenchable bloodthirst, then Alucard would have been forced to use his control restriction level 0 to stop him, but that never happened, and it rests everything else in the case of the Captain's death. The Captain's only weakness is silver, and he used it for nothing but his suicide. This is one death the Hellsing organization cannot claim as a victory. Marvelous verdict! A good old werewolf deserves the good old marvelous verdict. Cold, silent, calculating, ruthless, and an unparalleled physical and supernatural superiority makes the Captain the undisputed champion of all monsters in the Millennium. But still, second to Alucard. The Captain is a war dog till the end, but with shreds of morality and respect for his enemies. Yet, a Nazi is a Nazi is a Nazi, and that's a sin that the Captain will pay for with his soul until the end. But overall, if you have life-threatening enemies, you better get a bodyguard like the Captain, and don't forget, you heard about it here first. Until next time, keep your eyes and ears open for another fascinating analysis from Marvelous Anime.